I will leave it to Lower Manhattan Historical Society co-founder and president Jim Kaplan to briefly speak to Albert Gallatin's many achievements that has us gathering here today in Trinity Churchyard at his grave on the anniversary of his birth on January 29th, 1761 in Geneva, Switzerland. Let me say a few words about the even wider purpose of our efforts at the Society. In terms of Albert Gallatin, this is further heightened in that the very first event organized by the Society was to gather right here last August 12th for a similar wreath ceremony to remember the anniversary of Gallatin's death. So there is no doubt Gallatin, who indeed played an important role in the very early development of the well-respected New York Historical Society and was president of that group at the time of his death. There is no doubt were Gallatin alive today, he would eagerly join us at events like this. Now I am proud to introduce someone who represents another of Gallatin's greatest achievements, his founding of New York University. Whitty, Associate Dean for Faculty and Academic Affairs, New York's Gallatin School.
Well, thank you for that wonderful introduction. And I bring you greetings from our school. We know his history. We love the stories of Gallatin, the contributions he made to America as a Treasury Secretary, as an entrepreneur, as an immigrant who really had to make his way in this country in a time when it was a really new country, and a man who really was progressive in his thinking. So I want to thank you for inviting me as a member of the Gallatin School and Gallatin faculty. I'm really thrilled to be here.
Now a few words from a proud NYU graduate, a long-standing Gallatin advocate, and the founder of the Museum of American Finance, John Herzog.
It's wonderful to be here and to see all your smiling faces and to think that we will assemble here again.
We also have Mr. Gallatin himself by way of Gallatin interpreter, Mr. Duquette. And Mr. Gallatin has a few words for us, I'm sure.
It is particularly significant that as time goes on, more and more people should begin to recognize the contributions that Albert Gallatin gave to this country, especially given that he came as a young immigrant with nothing except a few dollars and some tea to trade on, and yet the opportunities that were provided by this country were such that he was able to return those favors by a distinguished life of public service.
Thank you, sir. And now some words from co-founder and president of the Lower Manhattan Historical Society, the essence of Gallatin's life, from James Kaplan.
Gallatin's impact continues on and on through students and others. The fascinating thing about Gallatin was he was born a Swiss aristocrat, but he really was a Democrat. He was a Democrat in the Western Pennsylvania. He was a Democrat in the Senate. And in the elections of 1800, he was instrumental in the election of Thomas Jefferson. And then as Secretary of Treasury, he interpreted Hamilton's program in a way that helped the Democrats. He was for 14 years the Secretary of the Treasury, the longest serving secretary ever. He was instrumental in settling the War of 1812. And then was the ambassador to France, and then came back to the United States, and in 1831 founded New York University, really as a university for the people. Unlike Columbia and the other more aristocratic universities which were associated with the religious institutions, the idea of NYU was that working people would be educated in this city, and he does that, and it does that to this day.
As we stand here today in winter at Albert Gallatin's grave on the anniversary of his birth, and surrounded by the graves of many others faithfully departed, reaching all the way back to the late 1600s, here in the silence of the bustling district of commerce all around us, we have a special opportunity to reflect on all our lives in remembering Treasury Secretary Gallatin today. What if it were you we were here to honor and remember? Are you living a life that will someday merit this kind of appreciation? Do you need to have great accomplishments on the world stage and to have others gather at your grave on your birthday each year long into the future? Or might you achieve as much just by living a good Christian or Jewish or Muslim or Buddhist or any other spiritually based life without a claim? That your good deeds, no matter how noteworthy they may or may not be, will reflect a life well lived. What about all the others surrounding Gallatin's grave? Most of these headstones, so weathered we can no longer read their names, and almost none of them have others gather at their graves, on their birthdays, or at any other time. Was that any reason for them not to have lived a life that benefited others? There is no doubt if we knew the details of the lives of all those buried here in Trinity Churchyard. Some of these souls lived very praiseworthy lives, and others not at all. There may be individuals buried here who stole and plundered in their time and were vilified. But for those who lived a good life, of value to others, they lost nothing for doing so. And if you are a believer, you know they have reaped eternal rewards. If you do not believe, the lives of these good men and women buried here are even more instructive. Because for you, they did good for its own sake, not for what rewards it would bring them. They were truly selfless. So, by coming to Gallatin's grave to honor his very notable accomplishments that will be remembered for generations, we also enter a profound world here in Trinity Churchyard, where he rests among many others who are not celebrated, but did good nonetheless, as should you and I. Happy birthday, Albert Gallatin. Rest in peace among all the others.